Hello guys, welcome back to Chocozone podcast. Episode we go in South Africa because the bean to bar chocolate is everywhere. And in South Africa, in Cape Town, we will be with a great chocolate maker that is working chocolate for a long time. And he is Italian, he lives in Cape Town, and he is Antonino Allegra. Enjoy! Welcome back, guys. We are in the world of bean to bar chocolate. There are some generations. There are people that started 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Other people that arrived later, and the new people that are now are everywhere. And I know for a long time an Italian guy who lives in South Africa that he is one of the first generation. The first generation is particular because they started with making mistakes and they could not know how to solve. They have done trials and so and so. Now it is more easy because in the website everywhere you can, you can find the solution. So I am really very happy to have here Antonino Allegra from South Africa. Ciao
Ah,
Antonino, how are
Hi,
you?
ciao Antonino.
Hi everyone. It's going to be interesting to have three Italians speaking English, but we'll try our best. We'll try our best.
Yeah,
Thanks Umberto for the introduction. I'm looking forward for this podcast. Yeah, I always enjoy talking about chocolate and what we do. Actually, yeah,
yeah.
quite interesting.
Um, we ask to all our hosts in the beginning to present themselves, and so I have to do the same also if I know you very well. So please tell us.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna try to make it very short as a presentation, otherwise I can talk forever. My name is Antonino or Nino for all everyone else. My surname is Allegra, so come from Sicily actually. I'm from a small town near Palermo. Spent my entire life in the kitchen. I was what we call in Italian garzone at the age of 12. I entered a pastry kitchen. I fell in love and never left. Of course, I did the school. I had to go to school. It was one of the things you have to do. So I have a degree in hotel school in Italy, and then I started to travel the world, working as a chef pâtissier or pastry chef, whatever region you're listening to. That was my ticket to the world. I literally traveled the world doing this job, or that it never was a job for me. You know, when you do something because you have a passion for it, 25 years went quite fast. And then now it's more. And now we close, as you say, Umberto, it's about 15 years, almost 15 years when I started this journey of going from chef pâtissier to chef chocolatier to, okay, now I'm curious about chocolate more and more. And what can we do? And there we go. We start making chocolate. Yeah, about 15 years ago now. Just time flies.
And
Yeah.
how did you get to South Africa? Why South Africa?
Uh, I was in Australia before here, so I've been in South Africa for 10 years, going into 11. So I lived in Australia in Melbourne for 2 years, 3 years to that. And then I literally been everywhere. And then I said, where am I supposed to go now for the new adventure? There was a World Cup in South
Mhm.
Africa, in Cape Town. And I said, oh, let me go there. Then Italy was really bad. There's on the World Cup, and I decided to stay here to make it better for all the Italians. You know, like we had a very bad World Cup, and I stayed here. I mean, I think compared to you have been in Cape Town,
Yeah, yeah.
and you see how beautiful it is here. So I fell in
Sure.
love with Cape Town, never left, and now this is home. Wife, kids, new baby coming. So This is home, yeah.
And how did you fall in love with chocolate? And which is your your knowledge and your experience about it?
Well, chocolate started by working in a pastry shop. I mean, working in chocolate shops, pastry shops, hotels, and the chocolate was always there. Then I don't even remember when I arrived here in South Africa. I wanted to start a small truffles and pralines bonbon business from my garage.
Mhm.
And yeah, for some reason I got all the sun cocoa beans. I've
Okay.
seen it in books. Not there was no book about cocoa beans. I knew that cocoa chocolate comes from beans, but there wasn't not much going on. So the research started then. The curiosity. That was the time when Clay Gordon had the forum, the first forum. I think was called
Yeah.
the
The
La
La
Vida
chocolate,
Loves
chocolate.
Chocolate, Chocolate
La
Life.
vita
Yes, yes.
cocoa. Yeah.
La Vida Coco. And there was another guy, the Chocolate Alchemist, who was right in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
And from there, we start this conversation with other people involved into chocolate. There was no book, there was nothing.
Yeah.
So I remember the scenes on communicating with people from Australia to the US, to Europe, to say, hey, I got some cocoa beans. What do I do? So then somebody would say, hey, I tried at 200 degrees Celsius. It smells burnt. What do you think? And then somebody would try the 140 degrees. And that's how this whole thing started. It was, literally was I remember a lot of people that now, like me, have a little bit bigger establishment. Um, I remember names like Dick Taylor's or the guy from
Mhm.
Canada, from Chocolate, that we were sharing all this information on how we going to grind it, how we going to remove the shell. Because at that time, there was only the big industrial equipment.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
Tempering was something, I mean, we used to temper it by hand or with small machines. And then when I started, I still remember, I will never forget this thing. I started to send the emails to different company. Hi, I'm an Italian guy, live in South Africa. I want to start a chocolate business. Do you have a small machine? And I remember that by no joke, the only person that responded to my email then and actually received a phone call was SBM. I think it was Carlo that
Yeah.
Yeah.
called me, and I say, listen, I have no money. I have this,
That's a good start. That's a good start for a business company.
I have this dream. I will make it happen, but no, but I have no money now. So I was tempering by hand. I actually built my own melting uh, container for it. And regularly, you guys from SPM used to contact me, how's it going? And until I got to the point where I was setting up a proper business, and that's where the our probably more than 10 years long relationship with
Mhm.
SBM
Yeah.
started. You know, like by a real nice customer service that turned into a friendship and respect for each other's business and respect for each other as a people as well.
Antonino, what is the difference between the commercial chocolate and the bean to bar artisan chocolate? Because it is also commercial chocolate bean to bar, honestly, but how to say?
Yes, yeah. The meaning of bean to bar is it started with the idea of, and I remember because we did this conversation of what bean to bar means. It's been going on for forever, you know,
Yeah,
because all the chocolate come from
cocoa
somehow
beans.
from beans.
We hope.
Yeah, from cocoa beans. We all. The difference for me personally, and I think I take this example from the wine industry that is quite big here in Cape Town. It's the difference that an individual like me can give to his own chocolate. It's not one flavor for all. It's chocolate now has characteristics You can take the same cocoa beans and have two different people do it differently, different roasting, the conching period, the philosophy behind as well. And that's what makes chocolate. Cacao has what 600 flavor compounds in itself, so it can be the chocolate has to taste all the same. And that's what bean to bar for me means. Like machinery gets bigger thanks to business growing, but the characteristic, our chocolate has its own character, and that's what makes it exciting.
Listen, Antonino, you mentioned before about the different communities that are online. I remember the Chocolate Life. Then people wrote books. For someone who starts this business and is passionate about it, he can find any kind of answer to his questions. He can develop a lot of different, doubts, or can ask a lot of questions to different chocolate makers about this topic. How do you think it is useful, and how can it find the solution for the problems in a laboratory, in a chocolate laboratory? I mean, it's still useful. There are people sharing their experience still, or is changing. Can I get a good knowledge about the chocolate making by searching and finding solution online?
Um, let's put it this way. If you start today or in the past years, in the recent 2 or 3 years, there is very well quite a big amount of information. You can go on YouTube and you can find anything you want. There is a Facebook group where I'm part of it, where there is always somebody sharing information. I think the curve is quite steep right in the beginning, meaning there is a lot of information that you can have. When you arrive at the level of, let's say, and I'm not an expert, by all means, I don't call myself, I can be an expert. The information, it's more like I like to give a lot of my experience, share my knowledge, my experience, and then every now and then.
How many tons of chocolate you made in your life? You are not expert, are you sure? I think you are.
Okay, so I can't tell you many in my life. I can only tell you that in 2019 we did about 50 or 60 tons. And last year, more or less, with COVID was a little bit less, but we are on the 40 to 50 tons a year, if not more.
So you are an expert, don't worry.
So you know something
I
about it.
know I burned a lot of cocoa beans, by all means. That's what it is. So I share this knowledge that I have with a lot of passion for it. And then every now and then, even for somebody that just started, I follow all the comments and everything. I always find a little small idea, something, oh, I haven't thought about that. Oh, what about this? I haven't thought about this one. And then I take that little bit pieces of knowledge that I might, and I put it together and come back with my own concept sometimes. Yeah.
And talking about the market of the final consumer, according to you, at which point is the knowledge of the people in the world about chocolate? Also, industrial chocolate. There are some good chocolates for sure, or artisan chocolate. The level. How is the level? And what we can do to see and to develop if it is
Yeah,
developed.
we have a lot to go. We are on the turn of the first, let's call it 10 years of this artisan movement. We still have a lot to go. I mean, if I remember 15 years ago when I made my first chocolate on my first business, we were selling for the equivalent of less than €1 of today's money. And people say, well, we are in South Africa, so the price is different than in other parts of the world, of course. We can't compare. but I'm taking South Africa as a point of reference. 12 years ago, when we made the first chocolate, we were selling for the equivalent of just about a euro, 20 rand, more or less. And people were like, why do I have to spend so much money on chocolate? Nowadays, uh, it's a lot more understood 10 years later. There is still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of improvement. That means for us, for me and any other small producer that is out there and listening awfully to the podcast, there is a lot of space to grow, you know. I make reference when I talk about this, the growth of bean to bar or chocolate, to the same what happened to the beer market in America with the craft beer that exploded in America and became such a big thing, or wine in general, even in Italy. You go to a shelf and you can find the same Merlot made by 20 different people, or even more. You know, in South Africa, we have 300 wine farms in Cape Town alone. And I hope the same will be for chocolate. You know, like you can have the same chocolate from multiple producer, some big at national level or international level, some more referring to your local town or your local market. So it's going to be quite exciting to see.
Talking about a production point of view, okay, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you work in different laboratories with different sizes, okay? So I guess different labor organization.
Hmm.
Can you tell us which are the main differences? I mean, working in a small laboratory or in a bigger or an industrial laboratory. I mean, which are the differences in which aspects they differ?
So I started in a room. This is my wife's office. I don't have an office at home. So this is their office, and those are behind me. Those pictures are my wife is a food photographer. So I'm lucky. She takes a picture of my chocolate. So I started in a small room, probably 2 meter by 2 meter.
Okay.
Now we have about, it's not, our sector is not that big, it's about 800 square meter. And we have all sorts of equipment. We have all our product development start with a small grinding machine, you know, the one
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
is 500 gram.
Tabletop.
And yeah, tabletop 500 gram, a little toy. That to me for me is too slow. It's very slow. It's run for days before we can get the product. So for me, that is just to understand where the product could go,
Yeah.
and then we transfer that knowledge that we have of other bigger equipment, and we transfer that recipe. We modify to fit the equipment. Because one thing that I see a lot in all the blog posts or in all this forum where people help each other. One machine, once you change equipment, it doesn't mean that your recipe is going to work.
Mhm.
If it work by hand, it might not work on a tempering machine. It's not the tempering machine or the grinder is the problem, is your understanding of the recipe and the capability of the chocolate. Uh, I see a lot. Oh, it works by now tempered by hand, but then it doesn't work with a machine. Maybe you need to relook at the recipe before you ask a company that's been making machines for what 30, 40 years and plus to say your machine doesn't work, because that's what I found quite interesting. No?
Yeah.
But yeah, in a scale of production, the bigger the machine, the more complex they become, the more problem you have, then you have to worry about so many things. Sometimes I wish I would have just a big stone grinder and chuck everything in and leave it for a couple of days.
And what is you lived in Italy, you are from Sicily, and for sure you know very well Modica chocolate, and so you have a good culture about chocolate. And what is the difference between the European chocolate or European taste and the flavors that the people want to have in South Africa from the chocolate?
Okay, so when we talk, depending what chocolate we talk about. So when we talk about milk-based chocolate, there is the
Mhm.
tendency there used to be the tendency in South Africa being extremely sweet. So high sugar content, low fat content, the smallest amount of cocoa beans in the air as possible. Um, Flavor has changed, except for last year where people couldn't travel. People are traveling a lot more, so we getting a lot more. We get a lot of well, not this year, but let's forget about 2019. But we get a lot of tourists from Europe or even from America. They used to buy take our chocolate, buy one or two chocolate bar, go back to Europe and says, "Wow, this is the best chocolate I ever tasted." And there is a lot of good high quality chocolate there, but and I like it because it's so different. And I don't think that's a difference number one. Chocolate in Europe is very, very, very refined. Talk about industrial chocolate. Of course, when I compare my chocolate with, because when I'm in Europe, I spend a fortune on buying every single chocolate from similar or better producer than me, just to get an understanding.
Mhm.
And I see that there is a lot of long crunching, the 72 hours crunching,
Do
40
you do
hours
you
crunching.
think do you think these are positive aspect or positive feature of the chocolate? I mean, a very low micron particle size and a very long conching. Is this because the feeling on our average consumer taste in
Hmm.
Europe is that if you get this smoothness, this
Hmm.
over refining and quite flat, I may say, flavor, this is a
Yeah.
good chocolate. Do you think, as a chocolate maker, that these are positive features?
I think, and that's my philosophy. And that's where I start. What my chocolate reflects is about if I taste the cocoa bean, or better to say, I fly regularly, at least once a year, to the cocoa farm in Tanzania, where I buy directly the cocoa beans from the cocoa farmers. I taste the white pulp,
Mhm.
and that's what I want people to taste in my chocolate.
Okay.
So we work on a fermentation to try to avoid the bad flavor. We control all of this. We train. We work together with the cocoa farmer. They have a lot more experience than me in farming. I come from a flavor profile, and we make our 70%, for example, it's roast just. Oh yeah, there we go. That one. It's just we roast it very lightly, and we literally conch it for the shorter period of time from all our chocolates. I think probably overnight, and then we let it rest because we want the characteristic of brightness, acidity, the lime juice, the lime flavor, all those tropical flavor we want all day. If I conch it for too long, I can have a flat chocolate, but you know, I like spice. I like the
But
thing that makes you
Yes.
think all the time.
but when you have a new origin, okay, so you have the pulp and whatever it is new. Um, how and what you try to get out of this bean. I mean, everybody has his own taste. So your personal point of view, what do you want to get out of this bean as aromas and flavors? Where do you focus?
So when we got the first batch of the cocoa beans that we regularly use, we did so many tasting on roasting because it starts there. If your roasting is not correct, there is nothing you can do. Well, you can only make it better by removing a lot of flavor, but you can't fix it. So if
Yeah.
um,
It's like
so
fermentation,
one
no? Also, fermentation is
Yeah,
quite a
well, yeah, well, we take the fermentation. Of course, I'm talking about post harvesting. Once the cocoa beans arrive to me, there is nothing more. I cannot fix fermentation once the cocoa beans are in Cape Town. We do this work at the farm. We tried the multiple roasting from nothing to burning. And then we did all these little samples we put next to each other. And it might sound weird, but after 27 years of tasting food every single day worldwide, you develop a profile in your head of what you want to achieve. And then you get closer and closer and closer, and then you say, okay, this is the profile. I like how it tastes. Let's hope that people understand it and like it too. For a very funny story, we make our 55% chocolate. We started, and except for me, nobody liked it. Nobody liked it. I was about, literally, I couldn't sell a single chocolate bar, and I was about to drop. So for a year, I had this product on the shelf, nobody wanted to buy. The 70% beautiful, the milk chocolate amazing. This poor 55%, nobody understood. We sent it by pressure from my wife to UK for the Greatest Award. It was the first chocolate ever made in Africa to win an award. Um, all of a sudden, everybody loved it. So we couldn't stop, literally. It's our bestseller now, 5 years down the line. So flavor change. Maybe I was a little bit too early with this particular note, but we got now right. I mean, it's a trial and error.
That's an interesting question. Who drives? Is the bean that drives the chocolate maker, or is the chocolate maker that drives the bean?
I'm Italian. I'm an Italian chef. So the product, if the product is not good, my first mentor in the kitchen, I was 13, used to tell me, Nino, you can be the best chef in the world, but out of a shrimp, you can never make a lobster.
Sure.
So this was, the translation might not work, but that was more or less the meaning. If you don't start with something really good, there's nothing you can do.
You talk about the flavors, the origin, the strong that you put to try to keep the flavor of the cocoa beans. Where do you take? You have also talked about farmers. Where do you take your cocoa beans? The most quantity of it. Where do you take?
So we buy at the moment cocoa beans only from a small region in Tanzania. It's called a small little town. It's called Kiela. It's faster to fly from Cape Town to Dar es Salaam than to get from Dar es Salaam there, because it is another 2 hours inland flight and then a 5 hour drive to the lake, to Lake Nyasa or Lake Malawi, depending from which side you look. That's what we buy. There is two cocoa farms. One is very close to the lake, and one is very close to the rice field. The combination of the two is what makes our chocolate. If I use only one, because we've done the test, we use like a single farm, a single tree, whatever, nonsense. If we use only that, it tastes amazing, but it's not as, the combination of the two is what makes it. That's our, well, not our secret. I mean, it's written everywhere, but that's where we buy our cocoa beans at the moment.
So you keep Africa always in your chocolate. It is under your skin, the Africa.
Yeah, I mean, our brand is called Afrikoa, so we have to be, I like to work with quality first, and I found that quality. South Africa makes sugar. I think, one of the most important sugar producer in the world. So it makes no sense for me to go and buy sugar from Brazil. We support this industry as well. The whole goal is always to buy the best ingredient we can afford, we can buy. If, for example, like hazelnuts, there is a small production of hazelnuts here, it's not really important. So hazelnuts probably it's not as soon as possible, we will bring in directly from Italy.
Yeah.
Some these Italian hazelnuts. There is nothing
A
we can do
little
about
part of you.
Well, there is a connection as well, but even one of my business partners is from Rwanda, so the coffee that we produce, we roast, come from Rwanda. So we try to keep a real story. It's not like, oh, what makes sense now for Instagram? This is us. And then if Instagrams like it, so be it. If the Instagram doesn't like it, well, we're
Yeah.
not fake. We're real.
Listen, if you make the perfect chocolate, the best chocolate in the world, but you cannot sell it, that's the wrong business for you. I think this is something that we normally tell during our
Yeah, yeah,
chocolate
yeah, no,
classes here. Considering that the small artisan, okay, doesn't have the chance that the big company had to make a marketing, campaign, and they need to talk about their production, their beans, their origin. They have to talk about. They cannot make their people taste their chocolate. Which do you think are the best networks to sell, to be able to sell, even if you're a small artisan? I mean, from any part of the world, which are, I don't know, I can find chocolate in supermarkets, I can find chocolate in airports, small
hmm
shops everywhere. Which is the best option for a small craft chocolate maker?
Um, chocolate, like and most like any food, the best way to market is by putting in people's mouth. If we started at market level, I did hundreds of markets, hundreds of small festivals, hundreds of having just a foldable table with a cloth on top and display the chocolate and talk about the product. And then slowly, then I went personally to shops and says, hey, this is the chocolate. Try to the owner of the shop, to the manager of the shop. Try the chocolate and put it on a shelf. Give it a try. I used to stand at the retail shop. Hey, would you like to try our chocolate? And that's how we started 5 years ago. There wasn't a big multi-million euro marketing strategy. And we still do it. We still, I mean, except for last year, we still go back when we have a new product or something to showcase. We always go back to our roots and to say, people here, taste the chocolate. Now, of course, with internet is a lot easier, but I think from somebody that just started and we still do it. We not we don't have millions on marketing. The best way for a chocolate maker is to say, here, taste this chocolate, and hopefully the people like it.
Yeah. So we are quite finished our episode, and
Oh,
the
that was
last
quick.
question, the last question we ask to everybody is, how do you see you in 10 years, and how do you see the world of bean to bar artisan chocolate in the world?
Where do I see myself? I hope retired and rich.
In 10 years?
And,
You are young. I mean, 10
yeah,
years too short.
most probably we are working hard right now to take Afrikoa into the world. So we should be starting with the first shipment to the US fairly soon. I mean, we had the delay of COVID, but this year, probably next month, our first shipment of chocolate arrives in the US. We have opened our first commercial shop where we sell a lot of all our products that we make. Up, by the way, next week we hope by the 27th that your equipment arrives. Because that's what we're missing. We're missing the two tempering machines
Yeah.
from you guys. And yeah, hopefully to grow this business and to pass the knowledge and the skills to other people. That would be perfect for me. That's all.
Okay. And how do you see the bean to bar chocolate world within 10 years? It will be more like the wine, or at the end the big will arrive and started again to drive the market.
Look, I mean, I think it's going to be very, there's going to be few players that will be bought over by the big company, and then will be left to play on their own. It says, okay, but you belong to us, but you can do what you want. Um, there is a company in Amsterdam that did that. There will be a few company, hopefully like ours, who stay independent and stay true to our belief and growing it maybe to much bigger volumes. And then there's going to be still the boutique, small, maybe 50 kilo at a time batches or something like that. But a lot of the small companies may hope not become like, okay, I make chocolate just for the market and never become any bigger because it takes a lot of uh, money, financial, and a lot of hours. I don't remember a day with less than 12 hours in a long
Yeah,
time.
a lot of efforts. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Antonino.
Thank
We
you,
will see you
Antonino.
soon.
We hope
Thank you
we
so
will
much,
be able
guys.
to meet and give a big hug after this.
Yes,
awful period.
soon. Hopefully, I can come to Italy back soon, and definitely a trip to SPM was always something I like to do. And I'll send you a picture when the equipment arrives, so you can see the shop with your
Okay.
machine in there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.